You know, I've been in this business now, finishing my second term, if you want to call it business, and, you know, 20, 25 years student of local government. And, you know, in all that time, I've never taken a bribe. But I'm awful tempted tonight because Jim McKelvey said if I could keep it at 10, he would give me 20. That's exactly what he said.
You can't do it.
You can't do it, I guess, that's right. Yes, my name is Steve-Arrington, and I am the supervisor in District 5 in Bedford County. You know what? We have a problem, don't we? I understand clearly some of the things that Bill is speaking about. Government is what it is. So I'm going to give you, some real simple answers tonight to what seems to be very complex problems, but they're really not. I understand what it is to get a budget. As a matter of fact, we get backed into budgets all the time. I reject that. I reject it. I'm not going to be backed into a budget because I do know how to vote no. As a matter of fact, since I've been on the Bedford County Board of Supervisors, I've only voted for 2 budgets. I voted for one because we cut spending across the board 2%. I voted for one because we level funded. In a year we had a $3 million revenue shortfall. The rest of them I voted no to. I will clearly vote no to this year's budget, and I can tell you that, and most likely already next year's. Call it narrow if you want to, but it is what it is. Because I do understand how the government works. It defies every business model that you can imagine, and it's not good. I'm going to give you a picture and show you what it looks like here tonight. You in the private sector, you know, us, we get out of school, we get married, do the things we do. We may not get married, but either way, we go out and we purchase things, we start businesses, we do a lot of different things. You know, we start with a large debt. But you know, with time, every dollar we pay, slowly but surely, this is what starts to happen. Now let me show you what happens in government. We ratio. We defy every law of economics that could be applied to any business, to your household, or to your checkbook. So every dollar we spend, here we go. Now I'll tell you tonight that government is a failed business model without exception. It does not work. Period. It defies laws of economics, and here's exactly what it does. If it works so well, we have a lot of debate over Bedford County, and I can tell you what that debate swirls around. If it's working well, why are we millions of dollars of debt at the local level? I'll tell you why. Because it's not working well. If it's working well, why do we owe billions of dollars at the state level? If it's working well, you know what? It's not working well. If it's working well, why do we owe trillions of dollars at the federal level? You see, it's not working well. As a matter of fact, this week, I just read a report. I get a lot from the CBC, and I will tell you very clearly that right now it's taking half of everything we produce just to be able to fund the government. That's a failed business model. It's not working. It's not going to work. So we need to make some changes. Let me speak to you about Virginia, because I know a lot about Virginia. I'll speak to you about that clearly, then I'll speak to you about the local level. In the state of Virginia, just in the last couple of years, let's look at what's happened. We have a Virginia trust fund that is what? Bankrupt. So what do? We borrowed $347 million to prop up Virginia trust fund. We borrowed that from the federal government, who has no money, by the way. And we're going to pay back a $20 million interest-only debt payment this September. But we don't have any money. We're one of the 45 states in the United States that's bankrupt. How do we define bankruptcy? We do not have enough money to pay our debt obligations. And you know what? Those streams are even getting smaller, day by day by day. Also in the state of Virginia, you know, we talk a lot about California, don't we? We see everything that's wrong with California. As a matter of fact, I got into a very serious debate on WLNI Talk Radio after listening to a number of citizens in Central Virginia talk about the California budget process. Well, I sat there and listened to it until I couldn't stand it anymore, and I just had to call in. And I wanted to talk about something, and here's what I wanted to talk about. Let's look at California's debt crisis, and let's look that it's gone 6.5 generations to get where it is. Let's ratio and do the things we do in the great Commonwealth and understand that the state of California has 38.5 million people. Let's look at the state of Virginia was 7,900,000 people. Let's ratio their debt out, quote, the way we do it in Virginia, with their $24 billion deficit that they can't pay. That's in above services. And let's look at Virginia with an $18.4 billion pension deficit with 7,900,000 people. I don't think we ought to be worrying too much about California. I don't know about you. I think we need to get on the telephone and call every one of our elected officials, locally and statewide, and see what we can do about making real change. So let's look at what happened in Virginia in the last couple of years. Let's just bring it on home to where it really, really fits and where we live. Our governor, along with the Virginia House and with the Senate, we have gone ahead and we have borrowed $620 million from the Virginia retirement system. 620. Very interesting, we start paying that back in 2012 with money that you put there, by the way. It's $65 million a year plus 10% interest. Now, I don't know about you. I think that's an outrage. An absolute outrage. So how are we going to continue to pay it? We're not going to be able to. You know why? Because we have to fund the VRS at its current level 100% in addition to that. And they think we don't get it. They really think we don't get it. You know what? I think we do. I think they don't get it. But they get it also. So we've got to figure out what we're going to do and how we're going to change these things. Now let's bring it down to the local level, because I can go on all night about the state. I understand we only have 30 minutes here, and I'm going to make it less than that, so I can pick up Jim McKelvey's money on the way out the door. By the way, I'll leave the donation in your Tea Party coffers over there, but that's exactly what I want to do. At the local level, we have a lot of debt. And you know what? We're just right across the pond from you. As a matter of fact, I had the distinct honor to speak to the Franklin County Board of Supervisors one time. It felt like it was in the middle of the afternoon. It was like 4:30 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And that's fine if you do it that way, but I had to take off work to go there. And when I was introduced, one of your supervisors said, so I see you want to bring it on both sides of the pond. That's exactly what was said. Well, fine, whatever that means, I don't know. And quite frankly, I don't care. But anyway, we need to talk about what happens at the local level. You know what? Because that's the purest form of governance. You know, I can't go to church without someone asking me a question. I can't go to the restaurant. I can't go anywhere that I don't find someone that knows me who has a question about the local government. So, you know, it's one of those things where you just have to understand it, and you have to be able to defend it at all costs all the time. Now, I guess you've been watching what's going on in Bedford County lately, haven't you? I'm sure you have. And you know what? I love Bedford County. It's a great place. It's a very, very, very good place to live. It's wonderful. You know, we have these numbers that we live by, you know, and we get them down from the state. And I want to talk to you about something just to try to give you some understanding of how government works. So when you clearly understand what it does, then you'll understand it comes down to two trains of thought. Government. It's what it does for me as it does something to me. And we need to talk about that. And we need to be honest about that. My wife will tell you, she's gone with me to the Virginia Association of Counties where, you know, I have a lot of questions. I do have a lot of questions. I run a business. And in that business, I operate under laws of economics and rules and regulations that are set forth by the local government, the state government, and the federal government. I understand that all too well. But I was in a meeting in which I thought we should really talk about some language and the way it was put across, you know, so we not have precisely vague language any longer. Precisely vague just doesn't cut it. It's like your budget. It's like your school budget. You see, that's not working. I was shot down 300 to 1. I walked out of that meeting, I said, you know what? I know what it feels like to be a minority today. 300 to 1. I thought, wow. That's a pretty good vote. But I was convinced I was right, and I'm still convinced I was right. So you know, it's not about the 301, it's about the one right vote. You know, we can make a difference. So I want to talk to you tonight about that. You're all here for a reason. And you know, you're all here because you care. As a matter of fact, I applaud every one of you for being here tonight, because you see, government is about one thing and one thing only. It's about people. Totally about people. So it's about you. And you're here tonight for the right reason. You know what that reason is? Because you care. Because you want to make a difference. And because you see the injustice. And you know, I can give you some phrases, we have buzzwords all the time that seem to fit it. I'll give you a few. Let's just talk about one. You know, I see the purest form of injustice is social justice. It can't work. It can't work in a free market. It doesn't work in capitalism. Because see what it does, it requires that someone do something and forfeit it and give it up to someone who chooses not to do something. You know? And I want to pay my way, and I think every one of you all do too. But we've got to do something to change that. If I look at the local government, I can tell you it is a failed business model. You know what we do? Let me show you how this works. We go out and we get, I'll put it on the state level first. Isn't it interesting that you've just been reading in the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal and so on and so forth, Virginia. One of the few states to get a AAA bond rating. Wow, let's talk about that. What does it mean to get a AAA bond rating? I can tell you exactly what it means. There are 3 major bond rating agencies to the tune in local governments of $3 to $4 billion a year the way they're funded. And here's how the system works. It works real easy. We govern with failed business models as we deny laws of economics, and we don't have transparency, as Mr. Brush was speaking about here tonight. And you know what we do? We set out debt parameters. And it's interesting that in the Commonwealth of Virginia that, you know what, you go in debt based on per capita. So you know what that means in Bedford County? That means when the doctor, when you go in, you have a new baby, and the doctor comes out, and you know, he smacks that little baby, and that little baby cries. That baby really should cry, because you know what? Welcome to Bedford County. You owe me $2,200 right now, because I can borrow against you. You're a number. Are you starting to get the picture? Failed business model. Go in debt on a per capita basis, and then we ratio it out to make it look in what thing that's defined by the state is called ability to pay. And you know what we do? We run those numbers out the opposite way then. You know why? Because they fit within our debt parameters. You know what we do? We go out and we get a bond rating. Oh, it's wonderful. We get an audit. It's great. Man, we're right on it. And we get this great bond rating, we get this audit, you know what we do? We get the good bond rating so we can do something else. So we can borrow more money. And then when we borrow more money, you know what we do? We change the ratio. So we can take the ratio and turn it right around and do whatever. We can stay within the confines of the ratio within our failed business model. And you know what else we do? Then we meet it, we have it audited, and you know what? Get that gold star. So we can do one thing. So we can borrow more money. Here we go. And here we go. And here we go. Folks, it's time to say nothing. And I think it's a great novel idea. You know what you can do? Just retire some debt. I know a lot in Bedford County. I say, you know what? We really don't have any extra money. Let's take and let's retire some debt. What debt can we retire with this? Because there's a lot that we can retire. I understand too clearly what it means to set in budgets. You know, it's an effort in futility many, many times. Because again, we don't balance our books the same way you balance your checkbook. We don't do that. And let me tell you something else that probably will shock some of you, not all of you. The good faith and backing of the local government and now state and so on and so forth, even America at this point, is put on the backs of ownership. That stands slap in the face of what the Constitution and the framers said about these things. What makes us different from any democracy in the world are our rights of ownership, regardless of how you define it. But it is ownership. But I want to tell you something. In Bedford County, I'm on a lifetime lease plan with the local government, and I despise the terms. I don't really own anything. And I want to tell you something. If I fail to send in that semi-annual tax payment on June the 5th, December the 5th, I'll show you who owns what. You see, it doesn't work. It's not working well. And we need to do something about it. So, you're here tonight. So now, we're going to dump it right in your lap. That's what I'm going to do. You know what I want you to do? I want you to be willing to admit to yourself tonight, because you are here and I believe you do this, that you know what? It's going to cost me something. It is. Your efforts to change government are going to cost you something. And it's not going to be easy. And I can tell you what, it's going to take you out of your comfort zone. it's definitely going to do that. And you're going to have to make some hard choices. You're going to have to make some choices that are not popular. But you know what? There's always something that happens when you do the right thing. Number one, you know it. And number two, you're always happy when you do. And I know that you know. And I know. Now, are we anti-government? Absolutely not. As a matter of fact, in spite of what Harry Reid said yesterday about the Tea Party, about you and me being the problem, you know what? We're not the problem. We're the solution. We are the solution. And you know what it is about that? We're fair. We're happy to pay our way. We expect to pay our way. We wouldn't have it any other way, would we? I don't think there's one of you sitting in here tonight who would deny the fact that you want to pay your way. I do. But you know what? I don't want to pay any more than that. And I expect the dollars that I do pay to be held in the highest regard. And I expect those dollars to be used wisely. And those dollars should be put forth to meet the goals and the needs of the community. The way we define it, not the way a bureaucrat in Richmond defines it, or a bureaucrat in Washington defines it. But you're uniquely Franklin County, you're uniquely Bedford County, and I can tell you what, you know what's best in Franklin County and in Bedford County. And I think I do too. So what are we going to do about it? Tell you what we're going to do. We're going to continue to watch this movement. Isn't it amazing that within 13 to 15 months, a movement just like this impacted 32 seats at the congressional level? That's amazing. You should give yourself a pat on the back. You know why? Because that's a phenomenal thing. That has never happened in modern American politics. It has never happened. But you know what I believe? The best is yet to come. Amen. I absolutely believe the best is yet to come. So what are we going to do about it? I'll tell you what we're going to do about it. Exactly what we're going to do about it. We're going to keep coming here. We're going to meet. We're going to get up from this place, and you know what else? We're going to go do something else about it. Bill Brush is going to win the seat for school board. Bill Brush is going to get transparency. Bill Brush will not be backed into a budget. Bill Brush will understand what it means. Not to work with the failed ratio, but to look at the dollars and cents, the zero-based budget that he talked about, and we will be better for it. That's going to happen. The very fact that you're here tonight means that you care enough to do something about it because you're here. So, let's see if we can make the change that we need to do. The changes that need to be made all over the place. Now, you can define those in your community better than I can. I know what our needs are in Bedford County. I know what the needs are in my district. I've sat down many times, I haven't in a couple of years, but in precinct meetings in my district, and I'll sit down and just have a group come in just like this. And you know what? We'll take their names, we'll write their names down, and we'll just sit down, and I'll, in the middle floor, I'll see you talk to me about your concerns. Tell me what's bugging you. Tell me what you'd like to see done differently. And then what I will do is speak to them clearly with their concerns and say, look, here's what's coming. This is why. This is how I intend to vote. Now tell me where I'm wrong. Talk to me. And you know what? Even when we're different, we come together. We come together. You see, I'm not anti-government. I'm quite the opposite. I'm pro-government, but I'm pro-government that is honest, that is decent, and that is equitable, and is based on the American dream with self-reliance. So what else are we going to do? We're going to elect Jim McKelvey in the fall. Right? That's a good time to say yes. We're going to do that. We're going to hold the Board of Supervisors in Bedford County and Franklin County accountable, aren't we? Yes, we are. That's exactly what we're going to do. We're not going to let people get by with it anymore. You know why? Because we can't afford to. That's right. And the very fact that we have allowed it to happen is the reason that we are where we are tonight. So you know what? We're culpable. We're guilty. I'm guilty. I can tell you something. When I came on board the first time, I won an election by 12 votes and a 3-judge panel removed it from me. I'd run in a special election the next year. You know what? I stood up when I announced that I was going to run. Here's the very thing that I said. The first ones I announced it to was the Bedford County Board of Supervisors. And I stood before them and I said, you know what? I'll talk to you guys about something tonight. Stood before you many times. I really have. Many times. You know what? I'm guilty of my hypocrisy. And I know what it is. I bet I'm not the only hypocrite in here. Any takers? Didn't get any. So I said, okay, then fine. Then I'm the only authority that's going to speak on what I am. Because I'm the one who has admitted to it, so here it is. Far too long I've talked the talk. Tonight I announce to you my candidacy for the 5th District Supervisor seat in Bedford County, and I intend to walk the walk. And you know that's what we're going to have to do. And you know the reason we're going to have to do it? Number one, because it's right. Number two, because our children, our grandchildren, and the unborn are dependent upon it. And I will tell you this tonight. If we leave a nation, a state, a county, a community with less opportunity than it gave us, we have failed. We have failed. So we have got to change that tonight. And you know when it begins? It begins tonight. I ask the very simple question. If not tonight, when? If not here, where? If not you, who will do it? Who will do it? So anyway, what I want to say to you tonight is I really appreciate what you do. I appreciate what the Tea Party stands for. You know, I'm all about the Tea Party. I'm all about the Tea Party. And I like it. And as a matter of fact, I applaud each and every one of you for your efforts. And let's move this thing forward. Let's do the thing that we know we ought to do, the thing we desperately need to do. Let's do it now, not later. Let's do it tonight. Let's commit to it. Let's move it forward. Understand it's going to cost us something. Understand this. It's going to cost us a lot less now than it will if we wait and try to do it later. I would ask you if you would pray, humbly pray, for each and every one of your elected officials. Pray that God will bless what they do. If you disagree with them, pray that God will remove them.
All right.
Absolutely. And with your help, I promise you that can happen. So anyway, I want to thank you for allowing me to come here tonight. I'm very, very happy to be here. It's a very humbling thing to be able to come and speak to anyone at any time, any given group. Do understand this. The battle lines have clearly been drawn. You can work out anything until it's politicized. Well, you know what? Everything today is politicized. So we've got to understand which side of the battle, which side of the fence we're on. We must not compromise in any way, shape, or form. And I'll tell you what will get it done. Hard work and enthusiasm. It'll do it every time. And you know what? You're already winners. Every one of you. We're just going to see it all come to fruition in the next few months, in the next few years, in the next few decades. Because America is worth it. God bless each and every one of you.
Okay. That concludes our program for tonight, other than questions. Questions for Steve?
Hey.
Yeah, I think that was kind of... what I was going to suggest is we have just a couple more things to clean up here, and then I was going to open the floor to questions, and then, we can stay here until 9 o'clock. Whoever asks some questions.
I'll lose some money if I stay here till 9 o'clock. I'm not staying.
Are you stopped your question? All right, what's your question?
Steve, as you know, the city of Bedford is about to be working for the county.
Yes.
How is that going to affect the board of supervisors in the county? I live in the city right now. Who am I going to be able to vote for come November?
Well, that agreement will not be finished this year. What will happen is once there's agreement between the two governing bodies, then it will have to go before a 3-judge panel. The 3-judge panel has up to 18 months. But the deadline for it now, if in fact the 3-judge panel agrees to it, is July 1 of 2012. Yes.
They had a referendum on that there a few years back, and the voters voted against the consolidation of Bedford County
Yes.
and the city.
Yes.
Well, this kind of like a backdoor thing, isn't it?
Oh,
I mean,
well-
they are going to do it without the public having a chance to vote on it or make a decision on it.
that is correct, and let me tell you why that, well, yeah, and I agree with you, but let me tell you why that is. The fact of the matter is what this is work. We've got some really controversial things going on in Bedford County. Just 3 weeks ago, I called and talked to the elected officials about it. I wanted to know if reversion is a right. Okay, according to the state code of Virginia, I thought maybe it could be a negotiated agreement and other things because there was a very strong reason why I wanted to know that. I had to go to the Council on Local Governments to find out, and with the state, it is a right. And we can't stop it. As a matter of fact, in Bedford County, we have no cards to bring to the table. The city has the right to revert, period, according to the state code. And we can't stop it. And whether citizens like it or not, and some of them won't, there's nothing we can do about it.
What then are we going to inherit?
In Bedford County?
And if they join together, what then are we going to?
Well, it goes back to, again, the three-judge panel will have the final say on whatever the agreement is. What that will mean is, it could mean many things. The truth of that would mean that I don't know how to answer that simply because I don't know how they will define it, but I will tell you this. They will look at this very, very clearly. They're going to look at a number of criteria. Here's what it's going to be. Number one, they're going to look at ability to pay, which will be defined by demographic, it will be defined by minority, it will be defined by school children, it will be defined by a number of things having to do with economic development and how those dollars come in or they don't come in. And it's going to be, there will be a number of criteria that the state or the three-judge panel will look at. Now, here we go. If we look at the current census, we look at Bedford County, we had 13.4% growth over the last decade. If we look at the city, we have minus 77. The city's economic and industrial base has been decimated. It is gone. It is no longer, it is non-existent. Now, on the plus side in Bedford County, what we have done, and we've done some of these agreements since I've come on the Board of Supervisors, we have done joint agreements in revenue sharing. So, for instance, in the city of Bedford right now, what is defined as it is Walmart, Lowe's, and all of that area right there is in the county. We've been splitting the revenue with the city 50-50, although it's in the county, knowing full well that reversion will be coming at some point, hoping that it wouldn't, but if in fact it did, that we would minimize the fallout to the Bedford County taxpayers. So we honestly tried to do that. And those are some of the things that we have worked toward. We're hoping that the three-judge panel will favorably rule when they start seeing those things. But do remember this, we're 68,000 versus 6,100, and the ability to pay, and for local governments, I don't know how they're going to rule on that.
Do you feel after this merger type thing takes place, that we will see a tax increase?
In the county, do I feel we'll see a tax increase? Yes. I do feel it may not be immediate. I think at some point, depending on how the three-judge panel will break up assets, and we've looked at the history of the two times that it's happened in Virginia with Allegheny County and with South Boston. We've looked at how those agreements came about. We've looked at the outcome of those agreements. Yes, and it could be defined that way. Now, there's something that I want to show you, and only government can get by with this. Yeah, I'm not anti-government, but I really want you to clearly understand this. If we look at what's going on, we have a moratorium on annexation. That moratorium's been going on for a number of years. It's funny how in a reversion is defined as boundary changes. Okay, do you follow what I'm saying here? Boundary adjustments. We're not defining it, I said that clearly, as annexation, but the state of Virginia says it's not. It's kind of what I reminded of hearing in the budget over there. It is what it is, but they say it's not what it is. So that's what I said. Yes?
How is that going to affect services? For instance, the city has garbage pickup. They have their own police force.
Yes.
How is that going to affect
The state will allow, and when it reverts back to a town, they will be able to keep their own public safety. There will be some.
Will we pay for it then, the county?
No. At least we hope, no, we will not. That's the plan. So, yes, they will become a town, yes, that basically be defined as that. Although they will become Bedford County, they'll come underneath, somewhat underneath our government, but not totally. So, and I know it's confusing, yes.
Steve,
Yes.
I've heard something about the city county tax when they revert back. Any truth to that?
No truth to that at all. The city will continue to pay the tax rate that they pay in addition to the 50 cents they pay on real estate in Bedford County. They will continue to make up the difference to the city. Now, initially, that will not be good. As it moves down the road, years to come, the citizens within the city will start to see reductions if the plan goes through the way we think it may. Because there will be we will get rid of some of the duplications of services, and what will happen is it will come under Bedford County, and some of those things will be shared. For instance, one of the costs that will be cut, just to make it clear in Plainville, they will no longer need to use the regional landfill. They'll just use the one in Bedford County. So there will be a number of things like that will come under that were cost factors that will not cost as much as many dollars. Yes.
I don't mind what must be.
Right.
Must be.
Right.
That's the end.
Yeah.
What I do mind is that the board of supervisors are not being upfront with the public of what's going on.
Reversion?
Yeah, tell us what's going on. Tell us exactly what's going to happen.
Well,
we can't hear her back here.
You know, we're going to.
Well,
schools, we're going to have to build a couple schools.
Well, here's what I will tell you about that. Every one of these agreements are come under confidentiality. Every one is a closed session agreement. No, and let me tell you why. Because there's potential litigation. That is a state mandate. That is not our choice. We would like to talk about it, but we can't. And we can't talk about it until the agreement is actually made. So I'm sorry, we should do it. I know. Hey, we don't like it either. But it is the state, it's not us. I know it's not good. I agree with you. Okay? Any other questions?
I have a question, and that is that we've seen the good things that Bill Brush did with getting a good start on straightening out the budget issues with Franklin County. As a supervisor of Bedford County, would you be agreeable to carry forth the notion to the board in Bedford to bring Bill on to do the same wonderful things and straighten out the budget, the school board budget in Bedford County?
Oh, yeah, we certainly would do that. As a matter of fact, we've already started that. We've started that a long time ago. We go after, we have no line item authority, but we certainly do go through their line item authority. So we go through their budgets. Now, understand there's 5 categories in the things that school does. We cannot tell them what they can or cannot do, but I can tell you what we have done, and we've done it legally. We have put debt service limits on them because, keep in mind, we pay for the capital. So, for instance, when you sit in Bedford County and someone will say to you, oh, it's $8,500 per student. That's not true. That's not true at all, because all the debt service falls on the county side. It's in excess of $10,000. So you see, this is how the game is played. That's how it works. So no, we've already started that, and what we have done, we put limits on that. And then some of the other money we have taken and put it for capital funds and things that we have saved. Although we have no line item authority, we've set it aside to make the schools come and ask for it. What we can, we have done.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.